And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Hello, and thanks for being here for Monday's marine segment. First, we'll take a look at tonight's forecast. System tracking eastward here to south of Kodiak Island after midnight tonight and on toward morning, possibly experiencing some rain as far north as southern Kodiak Island or the Trinity Islands, a little bit better chance there. Gusty north winds, rain and showers for the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians. Next system there pushing into the western Aleutians. This low weakening here and kind of pulling back to the west-northwest, and that kicks a active trough into the panhandle, so it stays rainy and gusty, windy and rainy over the panhandle. Otherwise not too bad in the interior. And then for tomorrow, this low tracks eastward. That trough slowly moving out of the panhandle there, so maybe a break in the precipitation, or there will be a break in the precipitation here on the central and southern areas there ahead of this next one. Moisture spreads westward across the North Gulf Coast into the Kenai Peninsula and Prince William Sound. Fair in the interior. Isolated snow flurries or showers up over the northeast. Next system here tracking eastward pushes rain in toward Umack Island, and that system takes off to the southeast, makes a pretty good jog here. It's either one of these two as this other system pulls back to the northwest, and that'll push rain and wind into the North Gulf Coast, stays wet and windy over the panhandle for the next couple of days, anyway, at least through Thursday. And for tomorrow, for the south coast, southwest winds 20 to 30 knots, seas just under 20 feet, south at 25 for the central coast. East to southeast winds 20 to 25 knots for the north coast with 10 to 15 foot seas. Lynn Canal, south winds 20 knots with higher gusts, southeast to 20 with higher gusts for Stevens Passage. And gale warnings for Clarence Strait, southeast winds 35 knots. Those pick up to 40 knots for Clarence Strait on Wednesday, and then we've got some gale warnings also along the coast of Prince of Wales Island, south winds at 35 knots, otherwise the central coast here, southeast at 30 knots, and east winds 30 knots for the north coast. Prince William Sound tomorrow, east winds 15 knots, seas 3 feet, east winds 20 to 25 for the eastern North Gulf Coast with 8 foot seas, northeast to 20 for the west side, light variable winds for the Barren Islands, and north winds 20 knots for southern Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay, northern Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 knots. And then for Wednesday, Cook Inlet, north winds at 15 knots, these 3 to 4 feet. Northwest winds 25 knots here for the Kamishak Bay Area and Barren Islands. And 30 knot winds out of the east-northeast for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Those seas up to 15 feet. And Prince William Sound, northeast wind at 20 with 3 foot seas. Kodiak Island, east to northeast winds 15 to 20 knots tomorrow, seas 4 to 7 feet. For the Alaska Peninsula, small craft advisories, north or north-northwesterlies at 25 to 30 knots with 6 to 11 foot seas. Bristol Bay, north winds 15 knots, seas 4 feet. Kodiak Island on Wednesday, northwest wind about 20 knots with 5 to 11 foot seas. And small craft advisories continue for the Alaska Peninsula. West-northwest winds 25 to 30 knots, seas up to 11 feet. And Bristol Bay looking at north winds at 20 with 5 foot seas. Eastern Aleutians, north to northwest winds 20 to 30 knots for Tuesday with seas 9 to 14 feet. Then southeast winds at 30 knots for Adak and Atka, and east to northeast winds or southeast winds at 20 to 30 knots for the western Aleutians with 10 to 14 foot seas. And then for Wednesday, those winds swing around to the west out there for Kiska to Shemya, west-southwest at 25 to 30 knots. And for Amchitka Island to Atka, we got westerlies at 20 to 25 knots. Eastern Aleutians, northwest winds, 25 knots. And for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline, north winds, 20 knots tomorrow, seas at 3 feet. Yukon Delta coast, north at 20 with 4 foot seas, and northeast winds 15 to 20 knots here for Norton Sound. St. Lawrence Island turn northerly at just 15 for the St. Matthew Island area. Pribilof Islands, northwest at 20, seas 8 feet. And for Wednesday, Pribilof Islands, north at 20 knots, seas 7 feet, north 25 for St. Matthew Island and the Yukon Delta coast. And a little bit stronger there for the Kuskokwim Delta coast, northwest at 30 knots, seas 6 feet, and St. Lawrence Island, north at 20, Norton Sound, small craft advisories, north winds 25 knots with 5 foot seas. And for the Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, pretty light winds out of the east, 5 to 10 knots, and light variable conditions for the central coast. East at 10 for the western Arctic coast, and the Chukchi Sea north to northwesterlies at 10 to 15 knots. And went the wrong way there. There we go. There's Wednesday. And for the Chukchi Sea on Wednesday, north to northeast winds 10 to 20 knots with seas running 3 to 4 feet. East winds 15 knots to the western Arctic coast, a light north breeze there, 1 foot seas for the central coast. And the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east to northeast winds 10 knots, seas 2 to 3 feet.